You go to a third party and they can issue digital gold and solve the problem of divisibility. Right there is the problem, right? You go to a third party. Who keeps them accountable? What if tomorrow they do the same? They comes a time where they're like, oh, this is great. We're making money. Obviously, they're a third party. They're a private institution. They're going to charge you for that. So that's one, right? Like they're going to charge you money. So now, why should they limit themselves to being to making money only to the extent of gold that they have? What Who audits them? What happens when they start issuing digital currency or digital gold more than the actual gold reserves that they hold?
So Bhatia, looking at a 5 to 7 year view, today, gold use cases seems to me to be better than Bitcoin. To say so, its supply is 1.5% compared to Bitcoin supply of roughly around 3%. Gold has a 5,000 year history, which makes it more stable, and it is definitely more acceptable today than Bitcoin in the larger scheme of things. And then, not to forget, we have something called digital gold as well, as an investment mechanism where a third party who holds a physical form, and we can use it as an investment, and it is divisible to the extent that is possible, or even can be further extended or further divisible. So does this not make gold a better investment, like it does in my view?
Digital gold. So I think you yourself said that you go to a third party and they can issue digital gold and solve the problem of divisibility. Right there is the problem, right? You go to a third party. Going to a third party, I mentioned in the beginning, we relied on a third party for the last few hundred years. That third party was governments and central banks. How did they do? They did not hold themselves accountable to the gold reserves that they had. The first sign of trouble, they said, let's ditch gold. We don't have to have fiat currency pegged to gold and we can print at will. So now there is no limit to how much they can print. So now coming to this third party, or let's say it's a private institution that you go and you give, you have gold bars and you say, hey, you know what, nowadays gold is money, but I have gold bars. So can I just deposit all my gold with you and you can give me the smallest divisible unit in digital form, which I can then use to transact and make my life simple? Who keeps them accountable? What if tomorrow they do the same? They comes a time where they're like, oh, this is great. We're making money. Obviously, they're a third party. They're a private institution. They're going to charge you for that. So that's one, right? Like they're going to charge you money. So now, why should they limit themselves to being to making money only to the extent of gold that they have? Who audits them? What happens when they start issuing digital currency or digital gold more than the actual gold reserves that they hold, which is exactly what central banks did? What happens if this private institution does not have healthy business practices? What if there is some fraud that is committed? What happens if they go bankrupt? Where does your gold go? So you are creating basically counterparty risk. You are basically putting all your eggs in one basket and you're going to a third party. You moved from one. Then if that's the case, then let's not move to gold. There's no need to move off of central banks, because they're doing the shitty job that we see them doing and what we're talking about just fine. If we want somebody else to do that shitty job, I don't see why we have to move to somebody else. Their central banks are doing that pretty well. The point of Bitcoin on this specific example is that it is completely decentralized and it is under nobody's control. And at the same time, it is under everybody's control. So the entire community, because of it being decentralized, the entire community of nodes, hundreds of thousands of nodes, they all come to a consensus and they all say that you cannot issue more than 21 million Bitcoin. So there is not a single party or a single point of failure. And that's the biggest value of decentralization, blockchain, and distributed ledger technologies. Now coming to why this is an investment, and why in the next 5 to 7 years time period, is because we expect that this narrative that we are talking about on this podcast is going to catch fire, not just because we are doing it. I think there are a lot of people like us, a lot of people who started before us, people who've been in the Bitcoin space for over a decade, people who understand it a lot better than we do, have already been talking and evangelizing the world around Bitcoin. We can see the signs now. We are in the middle of a bull run. We have seen Bitcoin grow over 220% in this year. That is only because there is a huge demand for Bitcoin because people have begun to accept. And so what I'm trying to say is that if in 1 year we have seen a 220% rise, and in the last 12 years we've seen Bitcoin go from 0 to 18,000, why not over the next 5 to 7 years when we still have more than 99% of the world not invested in Bitcoin? This market is wide open, and every day it's only growing because people, hopefully through channels like ours and through the right resources, are learning about it, understanding the real value of money. And over the next 5 to 7 years, the kind of demand that Bitcoin will see, because 99% of the world doesn't still know about it, as they know about it, they will come, is not going to be comparable with any other asset. Because you can tell me, if you can point out any other asset that is out there that 99.9% of the world does not know about, then we can say that, yeah, maybe we should consider that asset as an investment.
So, Vishesh, on the same lines, right? So, if you are talking about, let's forget about 50 years down the line, 100 years down the line, what will happen? Bitcoin, whether it will become our currency or not, or whatever it is, that time will tell. Okay. But let's look at it as purely as an investment. Okay. And let's say I believe in both gold and Bitcoin. Okay. So obviously I'm going to diversify my investments, right? And the question in my mind will be, kahan pe kitna dalu? That is what the answer that I need, right? So I say I'm pro Bitcoin, suppose, and I want to invest here, but I am also pro gold because with time gold is getting scarcer and scarcer. Okay. And the cost of mining is increasing. And these two factors, wouldn't it, even if Bitcoin takes a big chunk of gold investments out of it, wouldn't these two factors, add further to the price of gold?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, undeniable. I am not a Bitcoin maximalist. There are people out there. You can, if you have become a Bitcoin maximalist, all the power to you, and you can go out there and listen to content from Bitcoin maximalists. I am a little pragmatic, and I do believe that gold will have some role, at least in the near future. I also believe that one day gold will eventually entirely be taken over by Bitcoin as a store of wealth, and I don't think gold will have a use case as money or in any form of money. But that day, I cannot define when that day will come. It'll take a while. I think gold will, to the points that you mentioned, right? Gold will continue to get harder to mine. I mean, inflation is 1.8% today. It can go down, yes, absolutely. And maybe gold also goes down to zero, right? But when does that day come? We don't know. We have no verifiability. And how do we know? Is there going to be somebody who we trust who is going to come out there and say, okay, all the gold has been mined? The thing with gold is, fact is that its supply goes at par with its price. When gold price goes up, it makes mining profitable. It's not about how hard mining is. As long as mining is profitable, more gold will come in the world. People will go mine it, go find it wherever they can, because they can afford to, because the price has gone up. So imagine the supply of gold has reduced, and because of that scarcity, price of gold goes up. The moment the price of gold goes up, miners who were previously unprofitable can now start mining again, and then moment they bring in the supply of gold, the price comes back down. So they keep the price of gold at an equilibrium. But let's assume that's not the case, and that continues to happen, and it will become scarcer and scarcer. So I agree that there is a potential case for gold to continue to be a store of value, and it will not just lay flat while Bitcoin just walks over it. There's going to be a fight. There's going to be a fight from a demographic standpoint or due to demographics, because a lot of the world's money is right now with people who are an older generation who believe in gold and who don't quite understand digital assets. That will be those will be the people that will fight for gold, and the people who will be acting as tailwind for Bitcoin will be the new digital generation. So, in the near future, we can expect both Bitcoin and gold to go up because there is money printing happening. Both are proven store of value assets, and the fact is they might coexist for a while until the day comes when Bitcoin really proves its efficiency, or Bitcoin's efficiency really proves to take the cake. For a while, I think they can coexist just like other store of value assets coexist with gold, right? Real estate is store of value, art is store of value, so is gold. They all coexist with gold. So I think that can continue to be the case for a while. But let's look at signs, let's look at where the world is headed. The next generations, who are the people that are going to make money? Who are the people that are going to invest? Um, if the older generation is going to pass on their wealth to their children and grandchildren, the younger generation has no attachment to gold. They don't understand gold, they don't use gold, they don't see gold, and they live in the digital space where Bitcoin is the king. They interact with digital money. So it'll be a headwind for gold. And we are also seeing right now, I wish I had the statistics, and maybe we'll pull up the statistics and add them in the show notes later, is that in this year alone, there are signs that there is an outflow of funds from gold to Bitcoin. You can see this year money got printed. So if money printing happens, inflation risk increases, store of value assets go up. If gold is the number one store of value asset, then why did it not go up as much as Bitcoin did? Almost 10 is to 1 ratio. So the trends are right here for you to see. Gold is up about 20 to 24%. Bitcoin is up about 220%. 10 is to 1.
So Vishesh, I have another question. Now, Bitcoin is at around 430 billion, and gold is at 11 to 12 trillion. Okay, so there's a long way to go. And the number of people who have invested in Bitcoin compared to World Cup population is less than 1%, far lesser than 1%, right? And we are hopeful, or we believe that at some point Bitcoin will catch up with gold. It will take the whole of 11 to 12 trillion or a really big chunk of 11 to 12 trillion, right? But do you think it will even happen in our lifetime? Because, yeah, I'm worried about my next few generations, but I'm more worried about the amount of money I end up making, right? So from that point of view, what do you think?
Okay, so let me clarify. Is your question, will it happen? Will Bitcoin take over the entire market cap of gold in our lifetimes?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or majority of it, let's say 80% of it.
yeah, absolutely. I think that specifically will happen in our lifetimes, and it'll happen at again. You're asking me to make a prediction here, so I will go make a prediction based on how I feel about it. It's not a fact; it's my prediction. I think it'll happen in our lifetimes, and it will happen uh, early enough for us to be able to enjoy that money and not just leave it for our kids. But I think that's not where the story stops, right? I've mentioned before that Bitcoin, if it is the best form of money, as we have been trying to explain, then store of value is its first use case. And that we are saying is 12 trillion. But we don't take into account many factors. I'll tell you what we don't take into account. We don't take into account purely as a store of value asset. We don't take into account the fact that, okay, my take is that it might take another 10 to 15 years for that to happen, right? Or completely overtake gold. Gold is not going to remain at 12 trillion for the next 15 years, right? this 12 trillion number is also going to grow. So maybe this 12 trillion number will grow to 20 trillion, the rate at which money is being printed right now. So let's say it grows to 20 trillion. Wild number I'm throwing out there. I don't know. I have no basis for saying 20 trillion. Maybe it's 30 trillion. I don't know. But let's say it's 20 trillion. So in the next 10, 15 years, the opportunity is not actually 12 trillion, it's 20 trillion. So we haven't accounted for inflation. We haven't accounted for the global growth of the economy, right? The global economy continues to grow. And as it continues to grow, the value of the store of value assets will also continue to grow. We're just taking a point in time snapshot and saying it's 12 trillion today, so when will it become 12 trillion? Well, if the economy continues to grow, the value will continue to grow. It shouldn't need to stop at 12 trillion. Other factors, people have started investing the trends, and I've talked about it in this our other episode where I talked about why am I bullish on Bitcoin, where I mentioned that investments in alternative assets like gold, real estate, art, etc., has been increasing. I think it is projected to increase from 6% of total investable assets up to 24% in the coming years. So if we say okay, the economy is not going to grow, gold is not going to grow from 12 trillion, in terms of its value. Well, if simply this narrative plays out, where 6% of alternative asset investments rises to 24% alternative assets, then also there's an upside, and that's purely the store of value use case. Now, in the evolution of money, once money achieves store of value, then the next goal for or next milestone is medium of exchange. So when it becomes medium of exchange, there is further more upside. Then it goes beyond gold. And then the final pit stop, which is unit of account. So it has three milestones in front of us, in front of it. It has 99.5% of the world's population yet to accept it. The global economy is going to grow. I haven't done the math. I haven't put any numbers in front of me to even estimate what these numbers could look like. I don't want to sound overly bullish and for people to think I'm crazy, but there are smarter people out there than me, economists, career economists, who have even gone ahead and said, given out numbers like $5 to $10 million per Bitcoin. Those are the kind of outrageous numbers that I've heard in the next 5 to 10 years. I don't know. Those are not the numbers that I am pinning my hopes on, and those are not the numbers that are my investment goal. If I get there, great. That's the kind of upside that I've not even imagined. But we've seen this year, we've seen 220% growth. I expect almost higher than 200% growth next year. And as long as my money is doubling, tripling, or quadrupling every 1, 2, or 3 years, I think I'm in it. Beyond that, everything is an upside.
Which is another question. I don't even know if we should cover it as a part of this, but let's say it happens. Let's say Bitcoin replaces all of gold or most of gold over whatever time period. Okay, but we have mined so much gold over the years, right? So what happens to that?
This is the question that I love the most. Gold is gold. What do we know about gold? What are the use cases? What happened? What do we use gold for? Other than money. So we are saying gold has basically three use cases. I think industrial use, jewelry, and store of value. 90% of the gold in the world is being used as store of value. 90% of the gold that is out there is held up in bank vaults by central banks or whatever. It's just put away, locked up inside vaults deep under the surface of the earth. We took it out from under the surface of the earth and we converted it into bars and then locked it up again. The other two use cases are jewelry and industrial use. Jewelry, I just mentioned, right? Like if the gold was used as jewelry because it was a display of wealth. If it no longer is a store of wealth, then its use case as jewelry goes away. So what remains? Industrial use case. And I think that is what will be the end game for gold, because gold is a highly efficient metal. It is a very sought after metal for industrial use. The reason why gold is not used en masse in industrial use cases is because of its price. 90% of the price, the value that it has, is because it is being used as a store of wealth. It is not a very efficient use of a metal that is highly efficient for some other purpose. So we are directing the resources, the rich resources of gold, to its true purpose, which is as an efficient industrial usage metal, and it doesn't have to play the role of money. We shouldn't need to lock up gold in vaults when we have a really efficient use case for gold in industrial use. And something as valuable that will further the economy, help in development, technology, innovation, that gold can then be channeled towards. And if we needed something to play the role of money, why should we take away from something else, right? So Bitcoin can play that role of money because money has to do just one job: play money. Bitcoin can't be used for industrial use. I don't have any other more efficient use case for Bitcoin other than being money. So it can continue to be money.
Now, as we're talking hypothetically, now assume that we reach this state. So what we're talking is today, the value of Bitcoin is basically as an alternate asset. So what I understand is it's not that people have stopped investing in gold and using that investment or that money and putting it in Bitcoin, right? All the investment that is currently happening is new investment or investment that, as we keep saying, that it's a different source of people. So what we are looking at is that, if gold ceases to exist, then we are talking about 20 trillion or say even 10 trillion coming, majority of it coming to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin already having its own value of, whatever, 5-10 trillion. So this will eventually double, triple the valuation of Bitcoin.
Not double, triple. Double will happen next year. If we hit.
No, double in the sense that had gold remained gold, and
So
right now what
you're
I'm
trying
saying
to say
is
that if both gold and Bitcoin were equivalent
coexisting.
stores, coexisted as equivalent store of value assets, and one day Bitcoin ate into even the gold market.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean,
Which
so
is right now not happening.
yeah, that can totally happen.
So I think what you're trying to say is कि right now people are investing in Bitcoin because Bitcoin's value is going up, right? But there will be a point when they will start investing in Bitcoin because they will feel that Bitcoin is going to kill gold. That hasn't reached yet, right? That stage we are not there yet. When they feel that gold will not be, gold का demand कम होने वाला है, they know that gold price will go down. When that panic sets, we don't know what will happen.
I think that panic has begun to happen. It's not happening at scale, which is why we don't see a huge move in gold. We see a huge move in Bitcoin because Bitcoin is a tiny asset. Doesn't take a lot to move it, but that panic has already begun to happen. Like I said, I don't have statistics, and we'll try to share these statistics later. That there's already reports on how there is exodus of money from gold into Bitcoin. There are some reputable institutions that have published these reports that talk about this year. Just let's look at the numbers this year, right? Again, I talk about Bitcoin grew 220%, gold grew 20 to 24% this year. So somewhere these numbers are telling us that the if the money printing happened, store of value, number one store of value asset didn't get the majority of the money, right? The majority of the investments, the number one store of value asset today is gold. It could not attract as much frenzy as gold, as Bitcoin could, in percentage terms, not in absolute terms.
Yeah. So you're saying had Bitcoin not existed today, because of such massive money printing happening across the world, gold should have seen a bigger rally than what it saw.
Absolutely.
That's what you're saying, right?
Absolutely. And I think two things, right? Like, so new money that came in, not all of it went to gold. Some of it got channeled towards Bitcoin. So that's one hit. The other hit, which is more important, is that money got pulled out of gold into Bitcoin because people saw a better upside in Bitcoin. So these two factors caused the gap.